Good morning, guys. Erica's here. We're gonna answer some questions, but first we have to have our bagels. Look at this beast of a bagel from Spielman's. I get the Captain Planet. Erica, what'd you get?
This is the egg and cheddar.
Egg and cheddar. Let's eat. Classic night shift nurses just out here rallying before we're about to work. Oh no, it's too far. You can't see our beautiful faces. Good morning from Erica and I. I'm here with my nursing school bestie, Miss Erica, because we are going to answer all of your guys' questions, film a video about what we wish we could tell ourselves to our nursing school selves. We just passed our 1 year from graduation of nursing school mark, which is really weird.
And we officially passed the 1 year, well, you at least did, of passing your NCLEX.
It might have been like today or yesterday.
Yeah.
Tell the peoples where you work and how you got started in the nursing, like the short story.
I'm in the medical ICU. My original degree was in kinesiology, exercise science. Had to do field hours, and it just so happened that one of my friends was doing her field hours in an ICU down in like Sonoma area, and that's where I did my undergrad, was at Sonoma State. I was like, okay, like let's try it out. Originally I was like, I could never be a nurse. Like, I can't sit under the LED lights for 12 and a half hours. Like, that's awful. Who can be indoors for that long? And then after my first shift, I just saw what they were doing and everything in there, and I was like, whoa, this is what I want to do. So that's kind of like what started my journey to be like, I want to be a nurse. I became a CNA while still getting my kinesiology degree. I stopped being a lifeguard and I became a CNA.
There are like certain jobs that before people become nurses that they have, and I swear to God, it's like lifeguard, nanny, like there's like some jobs that people tend to have, or like a service work or anything in the service industry that kind of lead you into becoming a nurse, which I just think is funny. We became friends at the end of our first term of nursing school. We never thought we'd be besties, and here we are.
It seems a little yin and yang here. We're a lot more similar
I'm
than
influencing her because she came here today with her Patagonia vest, and I'm wearing my Patagonia vest. I work in pediatric oncology, so I work with the little kiddos at a different hospital than Erica, sadly, but we both love what we do. So you guys asked a lot of good questions. So I'm just gonna start at the bottom and we're just gonna both answer because some of our answers might be different. First question, did you work while going to school?
I did. I worked as a CNA in the ICU that I actually currently work at.
And I also worked as a ski coach for both my teams, and then I did YouTube full time. What percentage of our class also was working during school?
I want to say like 50%.
Yeah, maybe even a little more.
Yeah.
And the reason why I would say it's like a little less is just because we had older people in our program, and I feel like they were married.
Yeah.
And so they didn't like have the burden to work as much. It's definitely possible, and I actually would tell myself, because I thought I was crazy at the start of nursing school, going in and thinking I was going to do all the jobs that I wanted to do, that it is possible, and I think it keeps you disciplined when you say it. Like, I thought it was good for me, although it's hard sometimes.
No, I thought it was really good. At the very beginning of nursing school, they're like, you're not going to be able to have a job, like all you're going to be doing is studying. So I actually almost quit my job. And then my manager called me up and was like, I highly recommend staying on, at least going per diem. And I was like, okay, I'll at least try it. And it was not as bad as it seemed at all.
I agree. And we were both in an accelerated program, and our program was 15 months long. How to not be so nervous about clinicals. OT student here, about to go on my first rotation. Well, see, you weren't nervous because you were already a CNA.
Yeah, I was already working with a lot of people, so I wasn't super nervous. And I had worked prior to that for 3 years as a CNA. So I personally, like when it comes to helping people, and
you were used to that.
Yeah, I was very.
Where I was probably a little more nervous. I also had my CNA license, but I had just finished getting my CNA 2 license, so I didn't have really any work experience, but I will say that helped me be less nervous. I feel like in general what was more stressful for me than the actual clinical day was our like clinical sim labs, because I felt like that was really stressful. Basically, we were in a room, we had to go in and care for the patient. Everyone else in the group would be watching on a monitor and kind of like critiquing the care and pick up in the store, and we'd all like swap out. Yep. That to me was stressful, and I don't know, I just tried to not overthink and like trust my instincts, and it's a skill that you develop as you progress through nursing school, because you become like more secure, and also having good friends was really helpful. Like Eric and I were in the same clinical group, so I knew like we could laugh about whatever happened, and we knew we were going to be a good nurse no matter what.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is honestly it was always sim that was hard, because it was this mix between what's reality and what's fake, and what did they like tamper with. They'll be like, oh, well, look at the bag that's labeled, and you're looking at it, you're like, that looks nothing like.
This is true.
Yeah, it would just be stuff that almost they purposely did to mess you up so you'd feel really stupid.
And I also don't like the whole like acting part of sim because you do kind of have to play along. The truth is like something's really, you just have to pretend, and it's confusing to be like, is this real what I'm seeing or is this pretend? And it's awkward, and that like throws you off because you're trying to be in nurse mode, but you're like, is that real blood or is that a marker that was on the patient? You have to build a support system around you and be able to laugh at yourself. Like some sims I absolutely rocked, other sims I was like so horrified at my performance and I stood there doing like med math for an extended period of time. If I throw myself back into the mindset of right after I graduated nursing school and then having to be more independent, or like my senior practicum because they expect more out of you, and I was super nervous. The amount of time it would take me to start a med on a pump, I look back at that and I'm laughing so hard because I'm like,
give yourself a lot of grace when it comes to doing anything, whether it's charting or anything like that. Because even I look back and I'm like spiking a bag, like like it's just like LR, and now it's just like poof, like hanging them all and labeling lines.
It gets easier, and everyone said that to me, and it was hard to believe. But I think I would always try to like take a deep breath and embrace that I was still learning. And it's so wonderful in nursing school that you have a nurse to fall back onto. And my favorite line as a nursing student was, "I'm not really sure, but let me go ask your nurse." Do you regret anything about nursing school?
I think the biggest thing I would regret is honestly being like very hard on myself, because after even graduating from nursing school and then getting into the actual profession of it, there's stuff that they taught us or that we learned, and it was like you almost had to unlearn it. And that was sometimes hard for me, even being a CNA and in nursing school, is there was sometimes crossover and then there sometimes wasn't. So it'd be really hard on myself if I didn't get it. Nursing school is already stressful, and then you should have done better, like you could have gotten this question right or blah blah, and so then you like put yourself down even more, and then that's like not a fun place to be in if you're already all like in the trenches.
It can,
you just
like
dig a
eat
deeper
you alive.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Like also I would say like how everyone is talking about nursing school is an absolute nightmare. It's a nightmare when you're going through it, and it wasn't easy by any means, but when you are post school a year later, I'm telling you, like you don't remember fully how bad it was. Don't you think? Like
you blur it.
Yeah.
Blur it out.
And we have a similar experience where we came from a really competitive program because we were both I was in Human Phys, you were kinesiology. We had been through intense classes before.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to have to shift my brain to answer the nursing style questions, which was a transition.
That was so
bad. But I don't think I regret anything because I knew I just had to get through this program. I didn't need to kill to go through it. I just needed to get the discussion post done. Don't overdo it.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
why are you writing beyond the requirements?
Minimum.
Minimum. If you would have asked other people who weren't us, because we figured that out, they would say that's what they regret. Why are you writing these long discussion posts? I don't even have time to read them to reply.
No.
Kind of going off of this, this theme that we just discussed is how do you cope with stress of school, homework, clinicals, and also having hobbies? Because we definitely did all of that. I feel like the hobbies kept me sane, and so that was like part of my outlet. They always stressed, especially in our program, that you have to take care of yourself, and there was always this mental health of nurses is important, self-care, blah, 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 blah. And so for me, that looked like coaching skiing, working out, like taking care of my body, not sacrificing my sleep, still like having a social life, because part of the reason why I didn't want to go to medical school was because I didn't want to like give up my 20s. Putting it all on the to-do list and just seeing how much I could get done. And again, taking the assignment for what it was and not making it more of a project for myself.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that got me through it was honestly kind of like Kiara saying, is I loved my job because I would sometimes in nursing school be like, I don't know if I want to be a nurse anymore. And then I'd show up to work and I'd be like, this is what I love about it. And then working out was a huge outlet. Hanging out with friends, I like fell back on friends a lot and just like hung out with friends. And like even Kiara and I, if we would study together, like we would like study, which ended up being like, you know, talking about life, hanging out, and just having the books nearby so we could still get the education.
Or like working out together, going on a walk, like talking it out. That was the best type of studying, was like fully embracing life as a nursing student. And part of that is like building friends in nursing school who you can randomly, like we're eating dinner and I'm like, I need you to explain diabetes insipidus to me right now on the spot and like see who can do it, you know? How would you make the most of your preceptorship / final semester if you did it again? That's a really good question. I think I have regrets about that.
Okay. Do you want to start or you want me to start?
You start.
Clinicals in general, we were that awkward class that was like still during COVID.
Yeah.
So I feel like we got screwed over.
Because we only had 10 days of full 12-hour shifts in our final semester.
So for my like senior capstone, I was in the ICU, and I feel like each shift I could even feel myself growing more, but also it was like only 10 shifts. So by the 10th shift, and you have like these weird gaps because you can like make your own schedule.
So you could work like 2 or 3 days in 1 week, and then you skip like a week or 2, and then you come back for like 1 day.
Yeah,
it was
and
so
I could just
weird.
feel myself almost regress because I'd be like, it's just in general, I feel like just get like thrown into the deep end, like no matter what unit you're on. And I would just say try to look at all the other like nurses that have been there for a really long time, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And if your preceptor is being kind of mean about you asking questions, then I don't know. I feel like I never
Like lean on the other nurses too, because they know stuff. Yes, you're assigned to one person, but like your job is to learn from everyone. So like listening to everything that's going on around you and asking questions.
Yeah, and ask about like previous experiences with other hospitals, and like really taking a deep dive into like what they know, because with COVID and everything, a lot of people have worked at different hospitals or know different environments and know different tips and tricks of all the hospitals, and sometimes that's like just as valuable to get out of it, because once you learn a lot of loopholes and like figure out a lot of stuff with nursing, you'll be like, oh, like, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's important to like not burn any bridges, because especially in the nursing world, you run into people more and more. And even someone who I gave report to when I had my senior practicum, she ended up coming to work on the floor that I now work on. So it's a small world. I would say the thing that I regret is not getting like enough out of it either. It was a little bit hard because of COVID, and we had such minimal clinical before that I felt like by the time I hit my senior practicum, I wasn't at the place I should have been to be able to just like pick up 3 patients automatically, you know? I was so behind. Like by the time, I don't think I actually was like full charting on my patients until maybe like the final 3 shifts, which is crazy. And I wish I like really got better practice at charting, because now I'm faster and it's fine. Like I made up for lost time, but that was something that was so hard for me to learn Epic. And like I just kind of was staring at my preceptor do all of it, but I wish I would have advocated for myself more and been like, can I just do it and you tell me what you want to say or whatever, and you can correct me more, because I just need like that hands-on experience. And I wish I like asked to like hang more things or like give more meds and just like have that hands-on experience, even if we were like busy for a second.
Yeah, it was, at the end of the day, I don't know, it's like you go from
it's hard.
Doing a COVID vaccine clinic to now like 12-hour and
that was our
days.
experience. So a little bit difficult, but I feel like just definitely advocating for yourself to have that experience that you want, so that, because you know, like that is your last time as a student nurse. The next time you are going to be a literal nurse, and that's a scary jump. Yeah, for sure.
It is. It's a big jump.
What are some of the study tips that worked for you guys? Taking notes, flashcards, whiteboards, etc. What were your favorite study methods?
Well, luckily for me and Kiara as well, having a previous degree, I'd already had to study a copious amount. So I kind of already established mine. My study methods are, I go to a coffee shop because I need to get out of my place.
We have really similar study methods, honestly.
Because then it also is like the slightest bit of like distraction too, and I can people watch if I need a good break. And I like to write. Like I really have to write in order to get it back in my head. And then once I at least do like a day or 2 of just like writing and going through, then I'm like, okay, let's recruit more nursing students with me, and then that's when we like talk through it, and like maybe I will explain a topic, and then that person will explain a topic, and once I like talk, because I usually don't stop talking, it really gets in my head and then it works.
That's what I did in my undergrad. I wrote everything out, and I would basically make my own like cheat sheet note sheets. If you guys have watched my videos for a long time, you know this, or you can watch my study videos, because I've talked all about how I study. We would do all of that intense studying, and then I would like go to these sessions where we would sit around, bring the snacks, and we just talk it out, or like we'd stay after school and we'd have a big whiteboard and we would write everything out. So that was, we did use the whiteboard method, and I definitely, like I have a mini whiteboard, I use that a lot. So that was helpful. But the thing in nursing school that was different from my undergrad, like that I utilized even more, was the practice questions. I took so many practice questions. I would find them off of Quizlet. I would just Google about a topic. I did so many practice questions. The other thing that we used a lot is YouTube. Like when you're too tired to study, we just like would play Registered Nurse RN, our girl Sarah. Like we watched that. We watched Simple Nursing a lot. I listened to the podcast. Like I lived and breathed nursing. In the drive from the mountain when I was working, or like in the shower, I would listen to straight A nursing.
You're so right. Actually, now I'm like having like flashbacks.
Yeah, you're like,
I
oh
remember falling asleep all the time to YouTube videos, and then I would like fall asleep thinking of nursing, which I mean that's sometimes what you have
works.
to do.
Yeah, it
really
works.
Does.
And like I felt like the more resources I utilized, the better understanding of the condition that I got, because like your teachers would stress about one point, but then like the questions that they pull are some random NCLEX thing that they never touched in class, and that's where people get frustrated with nursing school. But it's like, girl, you gotta immerse yourself in diabetes. You can't just read about diabetes in one textbook. You have to like literally watch a YouTube video of a girl who has diabetes talking about how she takes care of herself, and you'll have a better understanding because you'll actually remember it. How did you do your note taking in nursing school?
I'm awful at note taking. I have awful handwriting. It's never coordinated like Kiara. Looking at my notes, probably had a heart attack.
But I changed my method because I used to like write everything, and then I just switched to my iPad, and I would just note take on the slides on Notability.
Yeah, my biggest thing was I'm a big Word document or like a Google Docs person, and bullet points, and then also have the slide up, and you have like that notes section under the slide, and sometimes puts nice notes there. Another amazing like reason, I guess I should say, to study with other people, because most likely my notes were lacking, and then you had someone like Kiara that was like color coded, and then like the most pretty handwriting,
but
and
that's
like this is what it is. I'm like, oh, totally, I remember that now. I just didn't write
I felt like I needed to interact with my notes, and so like the colors, that's how I justified it. The colors were helpful, like so I could interact with my notes. But also I had very minimal in lecture note taking, because I wanted to just listen to the lecture and pay attention and not be so worried about getting everything down on the slide. And that's why I was like, import the slides that our teachers gave us, put it in Notability so the slides are there, and just note take what they're saying like off key on the slide, so you have that.
And I feel like we kind of lucked out because we were kind of more of a in COVID / post COVID, because a lot of the professors had either would record their lecture or had pre-recorded lectures and post them, so I'd like religiously listen to those all the time.
And it was helpful for one of our classes in particular. She would post the lecture and kind of encourage us to watch the lecture first and then come to class and experience it again. And that I found was helpful. So just some different options for you guys. Ooh, this is really good question. What advice would you give for those going through the nursing application cycle right now? Because honestly, that's a really good question, because honestly, I felt like it was harder to get into nursing school than it was to get through nursing school. Like the path was paved. Once I was in nursing school, I knew I was going to get through it. It was going to be hard, but I got through it.
Yeah.
But getting in, I didn't even know if I was going to get in. Like if you've watched my nursing school video journey, it was rough. So what would you tell yourself applying to?
Oh my goodness. I did like the most minimal of minimal stuff, because I really didn't want to like strain too much on it. Accelerated programs in general, there's very few and far between.
I knew it was competitive.
Yeah, and I knew it was competitive. So my first go around of applying to nursing schools, I only applied to 2. And I was like, what I want to do is I'll dip my toe in the water here, and I'll see kind of what the process is like, because it is so overwhelming. And I was lucky that I already had a friend that did the whole application process, so I was able to really pick her brain. Then I was just kind of burnt. Like, it is so overwhelming. But I feel like a big thing I did too was almost make a spreadsheet of places that and what the requirements were, because having my previous degree, I was able to knock out pretty much all the classes. But then there'd be some places where it was like I needed to take like this one extra class. That's
or like a religion class.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that until like I really feel
until like maybe second round of applying. That's exactly how I was too.
Because I was like, I'm not gonna
I'm gonna learn about the process first and see what I could do, and then meanwhile, you know, you got your CNA, like you were working as a CNA. I was getting my CNA license to get the hours.
Because you can add up money fast when it's like, oh, you have to take this religion. Oh, because I had a communications class.
Same.
But sometimes I'd be like, no, you need this communications class,
or
and
I'd be
like,
another one. Yeah, and I was like, how much money am I gonna spend just to get to nursing school? But it is such a game, and I had the same mindset. Like, I didn't think I was really gonna get in on the first try, because I only applied to 4 schools. And I got lucky because I just got off the wait list. But I do think like telling yourself that just because you didn't get into a school, or just because you don't meet a requirement GPA wise, or whatever it's going to be, it doesn't mean that you're not meant to be a nurse. Because I think sometimes I felt discouraged during the process. Like, am I really doing this? Do I really want this? And it's really hard to know in yourself. But like looking back, I'm like, this is so me, and I'm so happy I did it. It's just really hard to see that in the moment. When did you start studying for the NCLEX? Did you wish you started sooner, or did you wait? I mean, our school, obviously, like every nursing school, school has some sort of program where you're studying all along. So to be honest, I didn't start studying until like 3 days after graduation, but we did have a Kaplan crash course at the end of our program. But I think that was a perfect time to start. I needed a little celebratory sec, and then I just dove in, and we both took our NCLEX like within a month of graduating. Another question about like school, social life balance, how did you do it? I just remembered something that we did in nursing school which totally changed my mindset on being able to like do school and still have fun. We had this wonderful counselor come in and she printed out a spreadsheet of every single hour in a week, like possible. And she had us fill in like, these are the hours you sleep, these are the hours you go to work, and then these are the hours you're at school. Every single other free hour is an opportunity to do something. And you'd be amazed when you put it on paper how many extra like hours or in between time you have. So I would get really good at like using that in between time. If I had 45 minutes, I'd knock out an assignment really quick, like while I was waiting for something else. Or like if I was in between classes, it's like, let's cross this thing off so that I can have my 3 hours at my end of the day, besides like doing discussion posts like to hang out with friends. Delete TikTok. If it's really sucking out your time and you can't have the discipline to control yourself on social media apps, then you need to delete it and like cut it out of your life.
I think the biggest thing you have to be able to do for yourself is just advocate for your time. And if you really are like, what at the end of the day is going to make me like fill my cup?
Yeah.
You just need to do that. And there's going to be times you have to say no to people that you're like, oh, I wish, but like, you know, just prioritize.
Right. And I think some people in nursing school, they felt like filling their cup was acing every single exam in nursing school. And they decided to overstudy for tests, and yeah, they got A's on everything. That's really great for them. But at the end of the day, are they any better of a nurse than the girl who got a B on a test, or, you know, who barely passed with a C? She passed her NCLEX, she's a nurse, she's working. Like, sometimes those are even better nurses because they enriched their time by being social, which is such a huge part of nursing that people don't realize. Confidence within yourself. Sometimes I feel like I'm not smart enough.
Oh, that's a loaded.
Now, let's think deeply about like what actually helps you develop. 'Cause I would say like celebrating wins and really hyping each other up like as friends is really helpful, because I would see something that you would do or someone else would do, and like actually verbalizing. I really appreciated how you spoke to the patient in that situation.
I think that was the biggest thing, is I would call up a friend that maybe I was in sim class with, and I'm like, what did you think of this? Because I had a debrief, and she'd be like, no, like you did awesome, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Again, that was a big thing, was really leaning into my friends. And then there'd be maybe a time where I felt like I did something wrong or I just didn't do as well, and Kiara would be like my biggest hype man. So just be each other's biggest hype man.
And like truly celebrate your wins. I don't know, sometimes I would shock myself with a grade I got in an exam, and you have to just celebrate it and be like, I made it happen. I stayed up really late that night and it was rough, but like it worked out. And I think you have to celebrate your wins, know your strengths. Like, you're not going to be good at everything. Oh, I really liked this question. How your family supported you / could have supported you more, and things that they annoyed you about.
Oh, I feel like my family was very, very supportive. They would always be like, call me if you have time. I was out of state. Like, all my family lives in California and I'm up in Oregon, so I really didn't. I feel like my parents were amazing and financially supported me a lot through nursing school. I mean, if we're really being honest here, financial support is
beneficial.
Very
I feel
beneficial.
like food support was like big for me, because to be able to like call up my dad and be like, what's for dinner? I'm hungry and I need to study, so I don't even have a single second to cook food. Like, can I just come over? Or protecting my peace and knowing that I needed like a little snippet of joy, and just asking like my dad to be able to hang out, or like, can we go on the boat? Like, I'm sad, or I just saw this like terrible thing in clinical and I'm processing it and I just need to have a fun day. Just my friends from afar were extremely supportive, because they were all going through nursing school or just had gone through it. And so being able to just call someone up and rant to them about the situation, so helpful. Just like protecting my sleep and things like that. Even now, I'd say my parents are understanding of the fact that I'm a little like psycho about my sleep, because it's minimal.
Rightfully so.
Night shift, it's minimal. Something that was hard at first, but now with experience comes easy to you. I feel like the pump was like so hard for me to grasp, even as a new grad, because I just didn't have a lot of experience with it.
Hanging meds, probably just like medication memorization in general, because they throw all these medications at you, and like medications that I probably use every single day are ones that Kiara's not going to see, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, well, when someone says, you know, go get this, or they're like, okay, we're going to do a rapid intubation, do this, you're going to need this much drawn up, and then I already know, and I know to have like, you know, this close by and everything like that. that, where now it's like, oh, easy. This
and
is
you
what I
memorize
can
like
do.
random compatibilities. Like that's so true. I thought pharm was like so overwhelming, and I'm like, there is no way in the real world I will know every single med. You don't. Like, there are still meds that I come across today, especially in oncology world, that we use them in oncology for not their intended use. Like these random meds that help with nausea that are like an antipsychotic. So
yeah,
you know, there's these random facts that you learn in your specialty, and it's so true. Like, you get used to the same meds, and now like dealing with insulin to me is not overwhelming at all, where I felt like in nursing school it's like, insulin!
literally doing like a NIH stroke scale.
Yeah.
After a year, it's like, tell me all the pictures that are on this.
Right.
Feather, hammock, key, glove. Okay, say mama, tip top. 50-50, baseball player. Like, now I can like recite the entire thing. Okay, let's hold this up for 10 seconds. 1, 2. Okay, good job.
Yeah, you just like really, it's so true that the repetition really drills it into you.
Yeah.
It's crazy the things that I can do at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I would have never guessed that I would be able to process these things, but it works out. The other thing that I felt like was so hard in nursing school was like piggybacks, and that whole concept, and like priming and back priming. I was like, whoa! And now it's like such a joke.
Yeah.
So it does get easier. If we did the process over again, what would we change and what would we keep the same? Keep like the way that I had balance in my life the same, and my approach to projects and things, like not going over the top, like just doing the bare minimum, following the rubric, getting my 93% and getting out. Something I would change, still trying to remember some of these conditions in nursing school that you rarely see, but then like all of a sudden, at least for me, like I don't see diabetes insipidus very much in peds-onc, but then like randomly, you know, you'll have like some sort of signs and symptoms that are being spit out at you, and your brain's like, oh, this is kind of reminding me of this, but I don't really recall like the pathophys behind it. Wish I drilled even deeper into my brain what that stuff was. And maybe it's just something I need to review, but more of the signs and symptoms, and I don't know, it really is the core and foundation of your nursing brain.
Nursing school, again, it's just such a blur. You just do what you have to do to survive and get through it. I survived it. I got through it. I passed my NCLEX. Personally, I would say that I wouldn't have changed anything because
Right.
I'm happy with the outcome of it.
So how well does nursing school actually prepare you for your nursing career?
Was that a joke?
I mean, like, in a sense, there are some things that I'm like, oh my god, I learned this in nursing school, or things that I remember that other nurses don't because it's more fresh in my brain. So there are like, it's not like nursing school doesn't teach you anything. It gives you kind of an intro to what you're about to see.
I think the biggest thing nursing school taught me was the like mental strength I had.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's yes.
That's
Cheers
the
to that. That
biggest
is so
thing
true.
nursing
It
school taught
teaches
me.
you that you can get
like,
through it.
Yeah, it beats you down,
Yeah.
and right when you're down, it's like you have to do this exam still, and you know how hard you can push yourself.
Yes.
So now when I'm like sitting there and I have a really intense patient or a really intense load or anything like that, I'm like, I survived nursing
easy.
school. Like, this is easy.
Right. Did you have doubts about becoming a good nurse when you were in nursing school, and how did you overcome those thoughts? I definitely had doubts.
Oh yeah, I had doubts a lot. I mean, I was very lucky and I was able to work as a CNA, so I feel like my way of overcoming it was going back to work and being like, okay.
Doing
like,
it.
Yeah, and doing it and being like not having the rubric or having someone grading me on it for like these things that aren't actually like a reality, and just having, again, it's kind of like other nurses either validate me or doing the darn thing. Like working during COVID was not an easy task.
Me coaching brought me a lot of confidence, and as I started to deal with like more and more medical things on the mountain, it helped remind me that like I was meant for this career, and I dealt with like a lot of just problem solving in general and prioritization as a coach. That to me was a huge benefit. I feel like I've talked about that in the other video. Like, part of the reason why I think working is so healthy in nursing school is because it gives you that confidence in something else that's besides school that you can be good at. How did you choose your specialty, and are you happy with your decision? Because I think this is an interesting topic, because you really knew what you wanted and I knew a little bit less, but I fell back onto what I ended up seeing myself in.
Oh, I feel like mine's easy.
Yeah,
so
yours is easy.
Yeah, I say I was born and raised in the ICU. That's what I said, because again, it was back in like 2019 that I started, and it was literally putting papers in folders, and I would just like kind of made some friends with the nurses and asked them a bunch of questions. And then I became a CNA, which then got me a CNA job in the ICU.
All at the same hospital, and your senior practicum.
And my senior practicum was also in the ICU. The volunteer job, that one was in California. That was my very first one.
Nice.
And then it was, this current one is like really where I say I was like born and raised in.
Yeah. So you knew that's where you were headed, and sure enough, you got hired to where you were working. And I was toggling between specialties, I think a little bit because I was so worried that if I didn't get what I wanted when I was a nursing student, didn't get that as my first job, I would feel like a failure, which is so not true. Like, I know so many people who have worked somewhere else and built their way back into like peds hemonc if that's what they wanted. I got lucky, and it like really worked out that it kind of like fell into my lap, and I found this opportunity and went for it. But I definitely knew I wanted to work in pediatrics pretty much the whole time. And then when I got my senior capstone, I fought for that. Like, I literally put a paragraph when they give you like a survey, any opportunity I could to like tell my story and why I wanted an experience in pediatrics, I did it, and I got an incredible senior practicum, which not everyone did. So that was super helpful because it solidified my desire to work with kids. So then once I had that experience, I was like, okay, well, oncology always was calling to me, and that's how I like eventually was leaning towards that. I thought about cardiology, and that was largely because I liked the class and I thought the content was interesting, and you had that experience on the cardiology floor. So I was like, that's interesting. And and I also pulled a lot off of my minimal experience as a CNA because I had CNA clinical rotations. And so I had seen a floor, like an oncology floor, and I had seen a cardiology floor and a med surg floor. And so I knew like I did not want med surg, and it just helped me like narrow it down, which is why I recommend like getting that CNA experience or asking to shadow a nurse, or like literally they have camps for kids in high school or like college to go like shadow a nurse, a different nurse each day, because it is really hard to find a specialty. I also felt like I watched a lot of YouTube videos of people working in specialties that were interesting to me because I wanted to see what their personality and their life was like. Final questions, because Erica has to go soon. Did you feel intimidated talking to providers? I still do. Personally, you probably feel less that way, but I just feel very new on my floor still, so I sometimes feel intimidated. It's getting better, but
I mean, I still definitely feel intimidated. I feel like that's still a thing, but I think as time goes on, you're able to actually feel more confident and like, this is what I know is going on. If you look at some of the nurses that have been there for like a few years or a couple years, like they just are honestly more knowledgeable sometimes than the providers.
Okay, we're gonna end it with, you guys asked such good questions. We're gonna have to do another one of these. We'll end it with this one because I just think it's a great question to end it. What are some ways to cope with what you see in your shifts? I'm gonna be a paramedic. And I felt like even though I was a nursing student and you don't feel like, oh, I should have the right to feel sad about the situation because I'm not as in it. You're still in it. You still see it. There's no way to not feel for some of these stories that you see. So like, what were some of your coping strategies as a nursing student or now that you find helpful? Because we've both been like kind of going through it recently, so this is a hot topic
This is a hot topic. Give yourself grace to cry if you need to. And I'm a big like treat yourself person. Where it's like, if I want to have a lazy day on the couch, then that's what I get. If I want to like buy something, like if it's in my budget, that's what I want. Share
the stories when it's appropriate. You know, follow HIPAA and everything and be respectful, but that's why it's important to have like friends in nursing school because we all get it, and you know, we respect the story and the person, and we ask questions, and you don't have to translate to layman's terms. Like you can just say the story.
And I'm a big advocate for therapy. Personally, I'm in therapy, and that also helps a lot because I sometimes just need to get it off my chest, and it's lovely to have friends that do that, but sometimes, you know, just like with therapy, you really get to like lay it all out there and be very emotional.
I definitely lean into my activities that bring me joy, and like I know my happy places. I know what I need to do to take care of myself. I know I need a bagel sandwich in the morning and a bath at night and to cry in the afternoon. You're right, it's okay to be sad. Like I had just a terrible patient situation and I had just 48 hours of being sad, and it's okay, and I still think about that patient every day. Like you carry these stories with you, and I just tell myself like it makes me a better nurse. It makes me more empathetic. When you're a nurse, you have a whole new perspective on life, and I think that's one of the biggest gifts that nursing gives you. It's hard.
What fills your cup.
And if you don't know, you need to start experimenting with things that sound interesting to you. Like sign up for a class and figure out what brings you joy. Go on a new hike, try a new food, hang out with new people. You have to experiment so that you have this safety net to catch you when you have these really bad days, because it's a really hard profession, and that's why it's also so well respected.
And I just feel like if you can't 100% bring yourself to work every day because you have that kind of burden in the back of your mind, then you're not able to give that next patient that you have your full self.
As you go through it, you build strength. For me, like watching how strong the kids are going through treatment, I ask so much of them every day to be brave and to try this new med and do whatever. And so I look at their strength and I feel like that fills my cup as well and helps remind me that I can be strong and tough. I'm not even the one getting chemo. I can get through this and be there for them. That's what we have to say for our video. To end it with a little pep talk, you can do it. You're stronger than you think. It goes by faster than you believe, even though when you're in it, it feels like you can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel because you're just so overwhelmed. Write down your to-do list. Like sometimes you just need to get it out of your head when your mind's like, oh, I have so much to do. Task by task, break it down. Lean on those who love you and care about you. We're so proud of you. And if you have any questions that we didn't answer, leave them in the comments because I will reply to comments. And maybe if Erica's bored on nights, she can pop on there and reply to people's questions too. I hope this was helpful for you. And if you want like more specific videos about a certain topic of nursing school or life as a nurse, give us a video suggestion down below because I think it's fun to film with my friends. And we have a lot of nursing school friends. We should get Jen and Theo in on this. Give this video a thumbs up if you love the nursing content and be sure to
subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
I watch her videos.
Erica watched my videos. Like every video is really sweet. Question of the day. Tell us a story about nursing school, like something funny that you had to go through that now you look back on and you laugh at, or give us a question. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta for now.
I only worry that I'm crazy, 'cause if it's all true, well, it's all true. I mean, I ain't lying.